goes down. Everybody on the wire, until you reach a high voltage transformer, everybody goes out. If you think about it, when people's lives depend on this, and grandma's on the ventilator, and you got the kiddies in the elevator and stuff, it's a high stakes issue. The power company can't take any chances. They have to supply more than is being used at all times. And by the way, they gotta have backup that they can flip the switch and get it going. If it turns out to be hotter than we thought and people are using more air conditioning, I need control over my supply. But we can't control the clouds. We can't control the temperature. We may not be able to control the supply of hydrogen. We can't control the strength of currents. We can't control swell. We can't control ocean surface temperatures. We can't control the wind. We may not be able to control the supply of biomass. And so you realize all of these are not as straightforward as just give me a pile of coal. As long as I've got a pile of coal, I can give you however much electricity you need. Oh, it's a really hot day? We'll flip on another coal-burning power plant. Oh, it's a really hot day? We got nuclear. We can flip the switch. It's on in 5 minutes. Natural gas, flip the switch. But how do you flip the switch for sun, for wind? It's a funny thing that we forget, that the power grid must always have more electricity at every single split second, or the power companies crumble. I mean, think about it. In your house, has the power ever gone off except for when a lightning or a car accident broke a power line? Rolling blackouts, if you remember 12 years ago, and because of the chaos of rolling blackouts, we had the first recall of a California governor. Yeah.
Before you were talking about like supply side and demand side solution, and it seems like this is only like half of the solution.
Because you're thinking of a different problem.
Part of the solution.
Yeah, I'm going to cut you off right there. Our consumption is easier to solve from the demand side. But at any split second, consumption is not negotiable. We can't rank users. If at any split second the power grid doesn't have enough juice for all users, I can't tell if you're making a smoothie or he left the air conditioning on with the window open or he needs air for his ventilator or his dialysis machine. We can't drive energy efficiency by withholding supply because people die without electricity. It's really funny. We are now so dependent on electricity that that's a separate conversation. You're talking about efficiency and supply-demand volumes, and I'm all with you on that. We should definitely drive down demand. It's better than making more supply. But if you're the power company, your job outside of this conversation is to always have extra power ready to put on the grid. No, you can't. You know, the rolling blackout thing. Yeah, for a while in the summer when we had not enough electricity on the grid, we did this called rolling blackout, where we just turn off a neighborhood for a while. And that was a coordinated effort, and we had to have medical responders, and we had to go door to door and talk to people about rolling blackouts, and it was announced in the media, and that was still a total nightmare. That's politically indefensible. We had our first recall, right? Yeah.
You're saying that we can't flip a switch on any of these energy
on most. We may be able to flip the switch on this.
That's because you were telling me that was the whole point of it.
Right. Yeah. And so that's a big part of this conversation, is if it's not reliable, it's just bonus. It's like, oh, it's sunny. We can turn off the natural gas plant. That's nice. But we got to have a natural gas plant for when it's not sunny. we can't get rid of fossil fuels until we can promise you electricity whenever you want.
Well, that's why we should be investing in it, because those fossil fuels are going to be gone.
Your liberal propaganda. Yeah.
Yeah, could we not go all wind or water, whatever, go all that and then have coal in the background?
We certainly could. So most of the hippies recognize that we'll probably have to keep all those less viable power plants, those less environmentally friendly power plants. We'll have to keep them.
Yeah.
Because every now and then it'll be shady for longer than we thought, or flat for longer than we thought, or wind-free for longer than we expected.
I was going to say that thing in the reader about the energy storage, those big battery-based plates, and like really important technology.
Yeah, yeah. Because right now we have what's called an on-demand grid.
Yeah.
And all of these sound really good if you have backup electricity in the bank somewhere.
So how come we're not subsidizing that more?
Well, the idea is we should use all of these and find a way to bank up all of this energy. So that on a really windy day, it's like, hey guys, next week we can go fossil free.
Right, but those are really limited right now. So why? I'm just asking, like, why that isn't kind of talked about more. It seems like it's really, really important. Or
you know, like,
in the future, at least.
There are a couple guys in the government who know about this thing called an electromagnetic pulse weapon.
Yeah.
If you don't know what an EMP is, you should be worried. And just because you didn't know, that's why we're not talking about it. Like, I think that the public didn't sit through the last 3 days of Jose's class. By the way, the public has a lot of very intelligent economists who see other layers of problem, has a lot of ecologists who see separate sets of ecological problems, has different philosophical priorities that believe that environmentalism is a waste of time because this is the earth that the God made for us to use as we want it to.
I was just saying, like, even within environmentalism, it doesn't seem like, you know, we had like one little article about it, and
you're not that privy to the conversation. No offense, but like when Barack Obama chose Stephen Chu's number one job was to upgrade the grid and work on energy storage. He, like, at his acceptance speech, he's like, "Hi, you may not know me. I made my name at some university, and my research is in the grid efficiency." Like, he's a nerd on the grid. So he was working on those distributional inefficiencies we talked about. That's his big priority. That was his job number one. And of course, all the other environmental policy of energy kind of overshadowed his goals. But yeah, there are people who know these issues.
what were you talking about?
Oh, some other day. I'm sorry. Don't get me started. You know I'm obsessed with the apocalypse, right?
No.
You don't know this? I haven't told you guys that
you have.
for the last 12 years, every book I've read is apocalyptic fiction. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they're a depressing guy.
Here's another way that we have to decide. Different regions have different issues. This is a highly, highly regional thing. For example, do you have the fuel nearby? Biomass is easy in Petaluma. Biomass is not easy in the Mojave. Second of all, what about those people in the Nantucket Sound that said, "Oh, I like wind power, but not in my backyard"? NIMBY. You know, I mean, we can play heavy-handed, but politics is, you know, already heavy-handed. They've got a gun pointed at you too. When political decisions become logical, you can call me up and we'll talk about this. Don't forget there are issues of workforce, issues of distance. So probably different regions will use different solutions. Wyoming has the windiest state potential. New Mexico has the best solar potential. The grid makes a big difference, like we were just talking about with Stephen Chu. And then there's all these. Dependability, long-term supply. Nobody wants to talk about this, but CO2 is the elephant in the room, and climate change will kill everything if it doesn't slow down. And then there's all this other stuff, like what about the other environmental considerations? Impact on water, air quality, wildlife, communities. For example, how much square footage of habitat do we need? Remember the #1 cause of extinction? Habitat fragmentation? Well, there goes your biodiesel, your biomass, your ethanol, and your wind. Because all of those require a lot of land. In terms of land, coal is all the way down there. That's pretty good. In terms of land, nuclear is all the way down there.
What are the negatives?
The negatives, efficiency. Remember how we talked about how if you lower demand, you need way less supply? Yeah. The only way to free up land for habitat is to just use less. So those two negatives are efficiency.
Gotcha.
All right.
Ethanol and cellulose is like, not always using the unless we just straight like
farm it. It actually is a spatially intensive process. Ethanol plants have a footprint per kilowatt. It's shocking. Like, if you look at the square acres to produce a megawatt through ethanol, the digestion, brewery, plumbing, venting, sequestration stuff is like square miles. All right. Unless you tell me otherwise.
Oh man,
that's pretty funny. If unless you tell me otherwise, I'm done with assignment 7.4, and we can move on to nuclear power. Anybody got anything else they want to talk to me about before we get started on nuclear power? I have bad news for you. If you don't know anything about chemistry, you're going to have to learn a bunch of chemistry in the next 2 days. Look, a couple of sophomores came into the class and said, hey, can I do this? And I was like, sure, but it has to be on chemistry. And a lot of the counselors asked me, like, hey, so do we need to get the requirement? And I'm like, no, but, chemistry helps a couple of days. Here they are. I will do my best to provide chemistry band-aids, but like I told you about physics, I'm not that smart, I'm not trained to teach this material, and we have way better resources on campus than me. So it's like asking one of the PE folks about environmental science. I'm sure that they would do their best, but you may have other sources on the campus. I will do my best with the chemistry, but if you have like a serious chemistry handicap and I'm not making sense, at some point you may want to seek better instruction than mine. Yeah. No, to be a college tutor, you just have to be friendly.
That's how are you?
I didn't have to like try out. I said chemistry, and the kid in the kitchen was like, I don't get it. And I was like, really? And I was like, oh, you want to hang out after school and help me with that? I was like, I got to work. He's like, can I pay you to help me with calculus? And I was like, and so he brought his hoagies, and I was like, oh my God, please don't hit me. And it's like, no, we just all want help. And so that was my calculus tutor in life. I mean, I know chemistry, like, don't worry. I was in the honors function. But I didn't mean to say that there are some chemistry things that are going to be over my head. So I do my best, but okay. First on assignment 7.5, which is chapter 20, are there any vocab questions? The waste product, the nuclear waste, is used in reactions I don't understand to make a new type of fuel which can also be used for later reactions. So the waste, quote unquote, breeds new starting material for a separate type of reaction. The reactor itself